Welcome back to the show today, everyone. We are talking about injuries and why players are getting injured all the time. Why are the biggest news stories a player gets injured rather than a team has a big win or a crazy night for a guy? Injuries seem to rule the news cycle. Are players getting injured more often now than they used to? Yes. And why is that? A lot of people believe it's because the play style has adapted. But to get into that, we have to discuss one of the reasons people believe players are getting injured a lot. It's the length of the season. They believe they should shorten the length of the season, which doesn't really make sense, right? Because they've been playing 82-game seasons for decades. And for decades, guys played every single game of every single season and they weren't getting injured. Are players becoming weaker and more brittle? No. The game has changed. First of all, like I've said many times, nobody throws the ball down into the low post, puts their hands on their hips, and waits for their big man to get a basket. That's done. That's not happening anymore. Slow basketball doesn't really exist. Guards are forced to drive into the lane, go up for a layup, or dish it out to the perimeter for a three-point shot. Exploding to the rim and quickly changing direction is horribly taxing on your joints. Not to mention, most players get injured after they land when they're jumping. Because when you're in the air, you're unaware of what's beneath you, putting you in a very precarious situation when you are landing, whether it's after a jump shot or running to the rim. It's such a problem that the league realized that this was an issue. So if a player is in the landing space of a shooting player and makes contact with that shooting player, they are assessed a flagrant foul. Bill Simmons talks about back in the 80s, most guys didn't really play extreme defense until the last 6 minutes of the game. It was incredibly rare for a front court player to run out to the perimeter to contest a shot. Now, every single player has to run out and contest every single shot unless they want to be on Shaqtin' a Fool for their trash-ass defense. Another reason players are getting injured a lot is not enough weight training, not enough stretching, and not enough form training. Personally, one very frustrating sentiment I hear about Anthony Davis is he gets injured because he works out too much. The argument is that his upper body is so strong, his lower body can't support it. I don't believe this is true. You have muscles all over your body. Your knees have muscles. Your feet have muscles. Your ankles all have muscles. And literally the job of all these muscles is to support your bones and ligaments. Losing lean muscle mass is never going to benefit your stamina and endurance. Call that a hot take if you want. So while we're on the subject of Anthony Davis, while I was doing research for this video, I found no information on Anthony Davis's stretching or plyometric routine. You'd think if you have a guy you're paying $40 million and the success of your season is riding on this guy staying healthy, you'd have them doing stretches or yoga for at least an hour a day, right? And I gotta be honest, there's a lot of articles on the internet saying that stretching does not do anything to prevent injury. And that might be true, but increasing your overall flexibility is going to make awkward landings less strenuous on your body. If your body is used to being put in unusual positions, when you unintentionally end up in one of those positions, that position will be a usual position and hurt less bad. Kevin Love, Andre Iguodala, Blake Griffin have all used yoga as a part of their strength training regimen. Not only has it kept them from getting injured, it has increased their overall body control and muscle efficiency. Joe Johnson believed it was the reason he was able to play 39 minutes a game when he was 32 years old. He claimed that when he started doing yoga, his muscles were able to recover significantly faster. Another way players are compensating for this new strenuous type of game is changing their form. Steph Curry sprained his ankle 5 times in the 11-12 season. So at the end of the season, Kiki Lyles, a training staff member of the Warriors, developed a regimen for him to learn how to take the pressure off of his ankles and put it into his hips. Steph's shifty style worked for him, but the bad ankles plagued the beginning of his career. Once he was fully retrained though, he became the best point guard in the league, and now he's one of the best point guards of all time. Another reason is players already have a lot of miles on their body when they enter the league. One observation Tim Grover made, that's Michael Jordan's trainer, was that in 2014, 7 of the 11 top draft picks all got major injuries during their rookie season. This doesn't really make sense. These players are young, they're in their rookie season. If there's ever a time they should be able to stay healthy, it's then. Well, not really now, because if high school athletes are really good at a sport and they have potential to go pro, they only play that sport year round. And if they have potential to go pro, they're gonna work on that sport all the time. Through AAU tournaments, high school tournaments, practices, personal training sessions. These are the same muscles, the same ligaments, day in, day out being strained. Tim Grover believes that these young bodies aren't meant to have such physical demands on them, and it can weaken their ligaments for their future. Kids don't necessarily need to play multiple sports, but they need to develop a foundation of strength, flexibility, and balance. Now, this is coming from Tim Grover, but I agree. I believe this is true. The next reason is players don't play through injuries anymore. Bill Simmons has a great interview with Kevin Garnett, and he talks about how every player the whole way down the bench is injured. Always. They're always suffering powering through something.
Tonight when we go to this game, the starting five, the 10 players that are on the court, along with the 4 guys that's going to come off the bench and the other 4 guys, everybody's hurt. It might be his elbow, his toe, somebody's hurt. You don't have knee braces on for nothing. You don't have an ankle brace and an elbow brace for nothing. So
being injured is a spectrum, and different players play on different sides of the spectrum. Let's take a guy who plays on the conservative side of that spectrum, Kawhi Leonard. Kawhi hasn't played over 60 games in 6 years. In -9 games, 2 of those seasons, he didn't play at all. Kawhi has a degenerative knee issue, and if you're over the age of 22, you have a degenerative knee issue as well. Everyone's ligaments are deteriorating. I'm sorry if that's news to you. Kawhi doesn't play a lot of games, and teams know that. I'm curious to see if this load management affects his future contracts. I got a feeling if he gets a championship with the Clippers, no one's gonna care. But if he doesn't, I doubt he's ever signing a max contract for 4 years ever again. Now, let's take the poster child for a player who played through injury and got burned. Isaiah Thomas with the Boston Celtics played through a labral tear in the 2017 season. The Celtics medical staff said he had a bone bruise. Thomas was having the best season of his career, and a bone bruise isn't that bad, so he played through it. He said, "I'm 5'9". If I don't play, they're gonna forget about me." Playing through this labral tear damaged his hip so badly he was never the same player. So at the end of that season, he made an All-NBA team. He was eligible for a $200 million contract extension, but instead they traded him to the Cleveland Cavaliers for Kyrie Irving. From a business standpoint, of course, that makes sense. That's the right move. But from an ethical standpoint, the Boston Celtics should have let Isaiah Thomas know what could be the consequences of playing through a labral tear. I think the story of Isaiah Thomas is why Kawhi is so reluctant to sacrifice for his team. Now, why do some players get injured more frequently than others? Let's start with Zion Williamson. Zion is an incredible player, but personally, at this point in his career, I believe he is a bust. In his career, he has played 114 games. Ja Morant, his draft classmate, has played 240 games. And the third pick of his draft class, RJ Barrett, has played 258 games. Zion is the youngest of all these guys, and he has played a third of the games in his career. So what makes Zion so injury prone? It's 2 things. It's his play style. Zion, when he is healthy, is one of the quickest and most explosive players in the league. This is how he damaged his meniscus. Zion moves to the basket and throws caution to the wind when it comes to ensuring his body isn't harmed during these basketball moves. Zion cuts hard, and he cuts hard on dimes. But unlike Steph, he hasn't figured out a way to distribute all of this pressure into his entire skeletal system and ligaments. A real bummer that people don't really talk about a lot is Zion has had his meniscus trimmed, meaning there is less cushioning between his bones. This will undoubtedly shorten his career even further. The other problem is Zion's weight. The bigger they are, the harder they fall. There really doesn't seem to be much of an effort to change Zion's in-game habits to protect his body. As much as his dunks are exciting, his dismounts are ugly. It's no wonder he missed all of the 21-22 season with bone fractures in his feet. This is a 300-pound man that every time he lands from a jump, he's landing from 3.5 feet. And now he has a hamstring issue. And here is how he pulled his hamstring.
Now, Zion. And you got a 2 for 1 if you want it.
Come on, Zion. Watch one yoga with Adrian video. It won't kill you, dude. They're 20 minutes. I think he has the Bo Jackson gene, which God gave him too much muscle for his own good. Now, let's talk about a player who never seems to get injured, Mikal Bridges. Mikal Bridges hasn't missed a game since high school. All through college and all through his NBA career, he has played in every single game. And he takes a lot of pride in that. He's probably going to end up playing 83 games this season. He's so healthy that he's getting extra credit on the court. What's his secret, though? He be juicing? Well, in a league where fans are very reluctant to buy tickets because they're afraid their favorite player is going to be on the sideline in street clothes. Very cool street clothes, but still street clothes. Bridges is as dependable as the former Phoenix Sun. The first reason is his incredible defensive technique. Mikal Bridges is one of the best defenders in the league, but he is definitely not leading the league in steals and blocks. Steals and blocks require a lot of energy, and you have to lunge for the ball, not a very controlled movement. Bridges just stays in front of his man and waits for him to either make a mistake or put up a really bad shot. And when he does make a block, he has mastered the chase down. He doesn't get his legs tied up in transition trying to get in front of the ball. Instead, he waits for the perfect time to jump and swat the layup. He can get a clean block and allow himself a nice place to land. The best way to describe Mikal Bridges' game is controlled. His defense is so versatile, he can guard all the positions. He can switch on a pick and roll. He can contest off a dribble handoff. He's strong and he's slender, and he can break through any screen. The more intelligent a player is, is, the more they can slow down the game and put themselves in the best possible position. The best possible position is never a vulnerable position. So what can the league do about all these injuries? Increase the roster size, make it 20 guys, get more guys more money, instead of one guy who's sitting on the bench for an entire season eating up 30% of your salary cap. Another thing they can do is shorten the season. Kidding, don't shorten the season. The way to solve this problem is not to take away basketball. That is, I think it's dumb, whatever, people seem to like it. The next thing is non-guaranteed contracts. Tie your pay to games played. I got a feeling guys are going to work on their game and their durability a lot more when their paycheck depends on them being healthy. Guaranteed contracts aren't really a thing in any job. Do you have a guaranteed contract with your job? I sure as shit don't. Alright, well that is the reason, and those are the ways that maybe we can combat all these injuries and have a better game of basketball that more people can take, have an opportunity in or whatever. Thank you for being here. Eat your corn dogs. Love your mother. Later. Thanks. Bye.